So let's get right into the action with the first part of the series. Obviously, today we're going to be going into the branding. Now, branding is a bit different from the actual UI UX design part of graphics design. Branding focus more on the actual company and some marketing side of things. So it's not so much mobile design today what we're going to be focusing on today, but rather it's going to be logo design, naming, and the actual idea, also colors, which will be important, which would have a bigger coloration with the actual mobile design part of things. Now, if you don't want to watch this video, if you're just here for the mobile design, you can skip this video. But I really encourage you to stick around because we're going to be talking about the actual app that we're going to be designing for, and also knowing some like logo design and branding design knowledge, even as a UI UX designer or mobile designer. It's very helpful and it's a very valuable skill. So without further ado, let's just get into design here. Obviously, I'm going to rename this page branding. Now, before we start doing anything, I want to tell you about what the actual app that we're going to be creating is. So you know that on Samsung and on most Android phones, there is a radio app, but that radio app is constrained to be only used through the plugging in of headphone, since the headphone works as an antenna for it. So it's very annoying. You can't really use your radio through Wi-Fi. At least on the version I've used, that feature does not exist. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a radio app that does that, that uh, transmits and receives some signals, and that you can hear radio through using your Wi-Fi instead of your actual antenna by plugging in a headphone. Now, radios are a bit old-fashioned, but this not like doesn't have to be really markets market valuable app. It's just for practicing, and I think a simple app like this will help you a lot in learning mobile UI UX design. So, what's the name? I'm gonna call it e-radio. This is the name I came up with. It's not really the most creative, but it gets the point through. E means digital, electronic, and radio, obviously a radio here. Okay, so let's start from the logo design. Okay, first of all, let's just drag out a frame here. This is gonna be the main logo. Now, my idea is this. So if we have something like this, okay, take a rough sketch of what a Wi-Fi signal, Wi-Fi icon actually would be here. And if we take this, duplicate it, make it quite smaller here, Control Alt O, and make it smaller. And we can finally create one small circle here. This is roughly what a Wi-Fi icon looks like. Obviously, it's not the most perfect, but it is roughly what a Wi-Fi icon would look like. And if we do the same thing and create what's roughly a radio icon would look like, they are just randomly sized bars most of the time. So we want a mix of this. Okay, we want a mix of the Wi-Fi and the radio. So here is what I came up with. So it doesn't have to be very difficult to do this. We're just gonna have single line. Let's start and make that our focal point. Then let's actually duplicate this, make it a bit smaller, and make this a bit longer. Obviously, I don't want it to be rotated. Okay, then I want to duplicate this one more time, move it down a bit, and let's move it up. I want to do this the same way we did it here. Let's just duplicate it while flipping it horizontally. So now if we can take everything, okay, not quite like that. If we can space everything perfectly here, around 12 or 14 maybe, something like this, 30.74, roughly the same. Okay, around 14 distance. So in this case, we have something resembling the connection between these two. You might be wondering how, and I'm not going to go into the details so much since I'm not really focusing branding here and logo design. Just some basics here. So if we take something like this, you see that the smallest one occupies uh, the least space in the Wi-Fi here. Like if you take this, actually, let's just take this out. If you take this and put it above what we created here, you can see some sort of resemblance in the way it is shaped. The top arc has obviously been replicated, but it is replicated in terms of using sound waves. And obviously, there isn't as much space here, and that correlation comes down here. And also, this circle is all along, and it's the same thing with this line segment here. Uh, so obviously, hopefully, it is clear. Doesn't you don't have to like get it fully. Just know that this will be our logo, and let's rename this wave line. Let's say wave line, and now doing that, what I want to do, I want to take all of them and I want to make them a bit smaller. That looks very nice. Just a bit more smaller, maybe. Okay, I really like that now. So from this point, I want to take these two and reduce their size even further. I think that's almost what we want. Just a bit more. Something like that. Okay, great. Also, let me just resize this maybe just a bit. Okay, very nice. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this and Control G. This is going to be our logo or our primary logo. And we're going to take this and we're going to actually right click on it and outline stroke, the shortcut being Control Alt and O. What that does is it makes it completely resizable. So that's what we want here. Obviously, we don't really need the parentheses stroke on the name. Okay, great. So now we have roughly our logo, but it is not complete since we also need our actual color scheme. Okay. Okay, so we need colors, right? So that's one part of branding. Obviously, we are almost done with the branding completely. We have the name, we have the identity, what the app is actually going to be. We have the logo, and now we just need to finish up with the colors and the fonts we're going to be using, which ties into some part of UI UX design more closely. So the colors, I'm just going to create a new frame here, call this colors, and let's drag out just a rectangle here. I'm going to make it 128 by around 256, something like this. and now we need our colors, right? So the way I'm thinking of it is I want there to be a higher level of correlation between our app and the actual app that is found on most Android phones, specifically Samsung phones, since Samsung is the most used Android phone on the market. So I want there to be some sort of similarity in the color scheme, which is dark, like a black color and red. So I want the same thing here because, like, if you're thinking of it in a marketing sort of idea here, you would think that you people don't really want to move off something they are used to. But if you are fixing just one thing, which is the actual Wi-Fi connectivity, then you want to create some coloration between like the UI and the identity of that app and the one you're creating, because you want people to have some familiarity between your app and the default radio app. I'm not going to bore you with the details here, but I just want to make it some shade of red here. Obviously, we don't want to go full red like this. And I'm going to give it some identity by just moving it a bit to the orange here. And I really like this orange, but I do want to decrease its saturation. Something like this. I really like this color. So if I save this, I have to make sure that it works on the darker background. Okay. Let's just have square out the background and something like this here. Okay, it does work, which is great. Now this is the black color we're going to be using, which is 111. So let's just duplicate that here. So we're just going to be dealing with the brand color in this case being the orange, and the black one is actually not the brand color but a supporting UI color. So it's very simple. Now we can just first we have to name this. Let's name it brand, or you can say orange or red. I'm gonna call it brand 500. 500 basically is the scale of lightness and darkness. 500 is in between, 100 being the darkest you could get and 900 being like the lightest you can get. Okay, so you're gonna take this and let's just give it some styling here for the presentation. These are our colors. We obviously going to be adding more when we are creating the app, but for now this is our primary brand color. Now also what I want to do is I want to include it here. Okay, so I want to make this color fully. Now you can experiment with it. We can actually experiment with this a lot. Maybe try some gradients. If we can try gradient fade away, that looks very nice, but for now, just for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna stick with this. And maybe what I can do is I can go with a bit of a dark shade at the bottom, just to add some extra depth here, just a bit. Nothing really too outrageous, very simple. Okay, so now before we finish off, actually, we have everything almost. We just have to first set up all our colors as variables here. I'm just going to set this up as logo grad for logo gradients, and it's going to be a color style obviously, since gradients are most of the time color styles. But here I'm going to call this the white, and it's going to be a variable. Since it's not a actual gradients, it doesn't have to be a color style. We can just make it a variable, and I prefer that. So here finally the orange color, I'm going to call it brand 500. Now obviously you can call white 900, but it doesn't make sense to me at this point. Like obviously white is 900 is the lightest color you could get, so it doesn't really make much sense to add 900 to it. If you want, you could do that. Now we can finish off with our fonts here. And this is going to be very simple. I want to use Inter. I want to use Inter because it is one of the most popular fonts. It is a font that works almost anywhere. And it's going to be easy for you to get because it's free. And it's actually on both Google Fonts and on Figma. So Inter, yeah, it's a very solid font. So as a beginner, if you're not sure which font to use Inter. So I'm just going to put this and like put it at a 64 size for now, just for presentation. You're not going to save anything here because it's just for presentational purposes. Then we're going to take this, put it in a frame. And there's going to be fonts. Obviously, in the future, if we need it, we're going to be adding additional fonts. But at the moment, this is fine enough. Also, I want to take this and make this our black color. Obviously, black 100 will be the same. So I'm just going to call it black here. And this would be our whites. So at this point, you can see that we are almost done. Actually, we are fully done with the branding. Next up, we could actually move into designing the actual website. But I'm just going to do one more thing. Here, I'm just going to create a 1920 by 1080 frame here, just for the thumbnail. You don't have to do this. I just prefer doing it this way, just because I want to keep my Figma files structured. So let's get it down here, and for this, I'm just going to putting the logo here. Actually, I'm going to create a variable from the logo, and I'm just going to copy it and paste it here. And I'm going to size it up here around 400, and we can just censor it here. Okay, so hopefully my voice is audible. There's some noise outside, so this might not be the most audible thing. Hopefully it is though. So now we can just take this. Okay, let's just censor it. And we can right click and make it or set it as the thumbnail for our Figma file. And it would appear on the asset thumbnail here. Obviously it's not loading now, but it will. So if you like that, you can do that for your own Figma file. But for now, that's I think quite enough for today's video. If you have any questions, please put them down below in the the actual comments. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about in terms of the branding. Next time, I'm going to be actually going to more UI UX design focused elements. So thanks for watching, and catch you on the next time.